City, what were you about to say about, what you think about the convenience fee that we are paying on the e-citizen platform?
Everything that we are speaking of is in the public domain. The papers write about it. There are those we call exposés. They bring it out into the open, but we know. When people say you should shut down a system, when you shut down the system, what exactly have you solved? Because that system provides a service.
Yeah, you've just basically taken us back to the previous problem we had before the system.
Why don't you itemize specifically what you consider to be the problem in detail and then deal with the problem? Because everything we talk about usually is not the problem, it's a symptom. It's what is being made. When we talk about 12 billion is in an outcome. The outcome is people use that system, the money is paid with using that system, 12 billion is generated by that system.
Right.
So in essence, you could say it's actually a very effective system if it can generate that amount of money. Our real problem is where that money goes to. When the Auditor General tells you 9.4 billion is lost, you're thinking, God Almighty, that's a staggering amount of money. And money never gets lost. Somebody takes it.
Yeah.
Somebody directs it.
You said it doesn't have feet.
No, money doesn't get lost. It's not that we had this money. Somebody took that money. So who took the money?
All right.
The discussion around corruption in the country is actually dishonest. That is the reason why we can't deal with it. Corruption is perpetrated by individuals. So focus who is doing what and deal with it. If there are a group of people, who are they?
Deal with them.
But we never go there.
Our guest in studio this morning is James Mangerere. He is the President, Mediation Training Institute East Africa. A very good morning to you, James, and welcome to Radio Generation.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard what City has said.
Yes,
so in like 10 seconds or less,
what
do you think about this convenience fee we are paying at e-citizen service?
You know, the issue here is about culture. A culture is something you do continuously until it becomes something normal in society. But we must change that culture. You see, we are passing this bad culture to the next generation. So we must reach a point where we say, enough is enough. People change their culture and start doing things the right way. That's what I can say.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's get into mediation.
Yes.
I am aware that our judiciary has provided for us ways that we can settle issues out of court.
Yes.
Is that what is considered mediation, or is it something different?
There's a misunderstanding in the public about what mediation is, because we have covered this terminology we call alternative dispute resolution. There's what we call ADR. And ADR is a combination of so many processes. We have negotiation, we have mediation, we have conciliation, we have arbitration, we have adjudication, and many others. The problem is we are not very clear about what mediation is. That's the reason why most people confuse it with arbitration, others confuse it with conciliation. Mediation is an alternative dispute resolution process where you empower the parties themselves to make their own decisions. It's a self-determinative process. What a mediator does, a mediator is a third party who is neutral, who opens lines of communication for these parties to discuss and come up with their own mutually acceptable solution. The problem is the public does not understand it, and definitely people will take advantage of that. And sometimes you'll hear people telling you, please, let's sit down and arbitrate, when they really sense they mean let's sit down and mediate. So there's a confusion.
Right. So this third party,
Yeah.
Who are they? Are they a lawyer? Are they a judge? A magistrate? Who are they?
Anybody can be a mediator. You know, there's a notion that you have to be a lawyer to be a mediator. That's wrong, because in the country right now, 60% of the mediators we have are non-lawyers. Only 40%. Yes, only 40% are lawyers. Lawyers took a long time to take up this position. I'm one of the lawyers, and that's why I'm saying that. I know the statistics. So many more people are mediators who are not lawyers, and we have teachers, we have psychologists, we have accountants, we have doctors, we have many other professions who are mediators. It's just all about training to become a mediator.
Oh, so because that was going to be my next question.
Yes.
How does a teacher become a mediator? What cases are they given to mediate over?
Teachers can mediate over disputes in the education sector, which are many. There are so many disputes in the education sector. So they have what we call substantive expertise. They have subject matter expertise in the areas dealing with education. Therefore, a teacher trained as a mediator would use the same skills to resolve disputes that are specifically related to the education field. So they come in with that kind of expertise that I'm talking about.
Let's talk about the training
Yes.
of mediators.
Yes.
What is it that someone is taken through to the point where now you can be determined as having qualified to be a mediator?
And that's a very important question that our people need to understand. When you step into a classroom as a mediator, you already have 50% of the skills, because as you grow up, you have already developed your emotional and social intelligence. When we talk about social intelligence, that's understanding the emotions of other people, so that you can use that in your social interactions. When we talk about emotional intelligence, is understanding your own emotions, so that it can assist you in making your own decisions. When we combine the two, we call it intuition. And intuition is usually fixed by the University of Life. So that one you'll never go to anybody's class.
Yeah.
And what we teach you in our training is what we call behavioral technology.
Right.
And behavioral technology is how to influence human behavior. And this can be done in a classroom setup for 1 week, morning to evening, where we impart you with the knowledge that can help you bring out the intuition that you already have in resolving disputes.
Wait a minute. You're saying that you can teach someone how to influence behavior, or what did you say?
Exactly.
That sounds like manipulation.
No, that's what they call behavioral technology.
Okay.
You know, human beings, we are about 5% rational and 95% emotional. So all this depends on people. When they get into conflict, they are emotionally influenced.
Okay.
So if you can know how to take people through this journey, this emotional journey toward settlement, you may solve most disputes and have permanent solutions to disputes. You know, when you go to the court system, a person listens to you, they listen to the law and the facts, and they make a determination. That means the rational way of resolving disputes. In the real sense, what they ignore or they leave out are the emotions, and the emotions are very important in any dispute process. That's why mediation appears to be a superior process, because it takes into account the emotions of the parties, and they tend to come up with solutions that they can be able to live with.
So in terms of what CT has just asked, the curriculum takes, first of all, is there a curriculum, and how long does it take?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's an international curriculum that qualifies you to be a professional mediator. And these curriculums usually are approved by the International Mediation Institute. There are bodies worldwide that recognize these particular curriculums. To be able to be a trainer, you must go through a rigorous train the trainer program, which is certified. And to be able to train somebody and certify them, there must be some kind of what we call standards of practice that have been established internationally.
Okay.
For example, in our training, we have a syllabus that has been approved by the International Mediation Institute, by the Singapore International Mediation Institute, and many other international organizations which recognize a particular level of standards that a mediator must meet through the process of training.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you've said there's this international standard, there's a curriculum, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
How long does it take for me? So if today I decided to become a mediator, first of all, what are the requirements? Do I need a degree? Do I need a diploma? Do I need to have gotten a master's? And then how long will it take once I have?
It all depends on where you want to practice your mediation. For example, if you want to practice in court, they look for people who have degrees to do that, or diplomas to a particular level. But a mediator doesn't require any what you only need to do is be able to understand English. In fact, I've trained people as mediators who are standard 7 leavers. I remember sometimes in about 15 years ago, I trained some people from Kibera, like in Saba, at the rosters. And some of them were standard 7 leavers. And they got the skills, and they were able to resolve disputes that are simple, structured disputes at that particular level. So it depends on what environment you want to practice. Especially, there are some institutions that require certain type of qualifications for you to train as a mediator to be able to practice in those institutions. So it depends on where you want to do your practice.
So for this standard 7 leavers, I'm curious.
Yes.
They trained for how long?
I did that for 10 days. And I tried to do it as much as possible in Kiswahili.
Yes.
So that at least they would understand.
Okay.
So we trained them for 10 days instead of 5 days.
So
it took longer.
10 days per day, they were taking what, an hour, 2 hours to train, or
we are taking the whole day,
the whole day.
It requires a lot of role playing simulations to be able to instill this knowledge, so that these people can then have that knowledge to go out and practice. And then you have to customize cases that are related to where they come from, so that you train them in that particular setup. For example, if you look at our chiefs, our police officers,
yes,
I think they need this knowledge a lot, training, because they resolve disputes. Look at the officer commanding a station, OCS, OC crime, the dispute that come to the station. Look at the chief's office. There are so many cases that come there that need somebody who is specialized to resolve them. Community disputes, family disputes, commercial and others.
We usually think the chief only solves wizi wa kuku. But
let me tell you one thing. The good thing about it is that our chiefs have not been trained, and therefore they lack that knowledge.
Yes.
Therefore they use what we call the power of fiat. Is there they need to find a way of reconciling interests. And therefore that's why this skill is so important to our chiefs also, to be able to resolve those community disputes.
You've said the power of fear.
Fiat.
F-I-A-T.
Yeah.
Or fiat.
So that means where you just command people. You become an autocrat. So you just make people do what you want.
So where you tell them, look, mumekosana, wewe lipa kukeuza hizi.
Exactly. Exactly. You give them ultimatums.
Yes.
And that's what people, that's how the chiefs do.
Okay.
They say they are supposed to help people reconcile and come up with their own solutions through the process of mediation. So it's an important thing.
So these people that you train for 10 days,
yes,
again, I just want to understand,
yes,
what kinds of disputes can they mediate?
There are no more we call village disputes. Disputes like boundaries, disputes between people who have borrowed some money from somebody they have failed to pay, family disputes. Those are simple disputes. You know, the structure of the conflict is simple.
Okay.
When we train people like these professionals now who have degrees, then the structure of the conflict that they deal with is a little bit more complicated. And therefore, that's why they get more skills, and their syllabus is a little bit different. So we customize the syllabus based on the needs of the person who is on the ground. But to be able to qualify as a mediator at a particular level, you need to have made the requisite international syllabus.
All right.
Yes.
So we've seen here's a training for 10 days. Kuna training ya
5 days. 5 days. There's one for 5 days, that's professional mediation. 10 days are those what we call village mediation and whatever community disputes, because of the level of education of the people you're dealing with. We also have advanced mediation. Those people have already done this 50-hour mediation mediation program, now can move after practicing for 1 year and after getting experience of more than 200 hours. Then these people can put them into an advanced program, which is known as advanced mediation, where they become chartered mediators.
Yeah. The reason I'm very much on this particular point is because I'm actually seeing an opportunity here. A lot of people are in their homes, they're jobless, they probably don't know where their next meal is going to come from. Is this a career that they can actually take up and it can assist them? Because number one, najua kwa koti kesi ni nyingi sana. You go to the court and you just see case after case after case after case. And I'm thinking this can actually something I can even do personally on my free time. Once I leave the studio here at 10.
Exactly.
Can I be trained and then nikitoka hapa naenda kotini and I start asking people, kesi yako ni gani nikusaidie?
Even in journalism, we have trained journalists on how to mediate, because every time you are writing about news, your writings, what you are saying on this microphone is meant to reconcile the community. The way you give your speech, the way you communicate. So we have a specific program even for journalists. Anybody can train as a mediator. The good thing about mediation is that you don't retire. The older you grow, the more wiser you become, and the more disputes you resolve. Therefore, it's a career. I told people it's a retirement plan for so many people who are tired with what they're doing. It's right now.
Is it a lucrative career?
Exactly. I can tell you, I've been doing mediation for 24 years now.
Wow.
I'm a lawyer, that's my primary profession, but mediation I've been doing as a trainer and also as a practitioner of mediation. So I can tell you it's a lucrative business.
So who pays the mediator? The people having the dispute? Is it the court? Is it
it depends,
an NGO?
It depends on which cases. If you are doing court-annexed mediation cases, usually you are paid by the courts.
Okay.
But if you are doing private mediation, like what I want to talk about today, then the parties pay you. And it's a lucrative business. People that I have trained who have especially done not only local but international cases, they are paid as much as $1,000 an hour. There is an interview I did at Citizen TV some years back, and I was accompanied by the president, then president of the International Academy of Mediators. His name was Eugene Maskovich.
Okay.
He came over here and he was interviewed and he was asked on TV, how much do you earn in America in the practice of mediation? He said $9,000. People were horrified, because if you multiply that by Kenya shillings, you'll be surprised. That's a lot of money that a person makes in a day.
Yeah.
And
that's over $1 million.
Yeah, over $1 million. And he told us where we are statistically in Kenya in mediation. America was at that stage 25 years ago.
Right.
But the mediators came together and they developed their own ecosystem. They developed the market. They sensitized the public to ensure that the public understand that instead of going to court, in Kenya we have a culture that if you are in conflict, the first thing you think about is to see you in court. But let me tell you, it takes long to resolve disputes in court, and at the same time it destroys relationships. That's the reason why the development of private mediation is very important in the country, not only in lowering the number of cases in court, but in creating a community whereby people can resolve disputes and keep relationships. It's a very important process. And I'll be talking much more about that private mediation if time allows, and I'll also be touching on the legislation that is coming up right now that may end up messing up the process, and it's very important that we look at it also at the same time.
Are the court recommended mediations?
Yes.
Does the court recommend mediation?
Yes, exactly.
Someone goes to court and the court tells the magistrate or tells you, this matter, why don't you go and see a mediator before coming back here?
Yeah, exactly. The Court-annexed mediation program, in our court right now we have what we call the Court-annexed mediation program. And in this program, we have new rules that have come in place. There's legal notes number 145 of 2022. Courts have always been referring cases to mediation. We started with a pilot program in the year 2015 under Justice Mutunga. The pilot program came to an end in 2017, and Court-annexed mediation program was rolled into initially 13 high courts in Kenya. Right now, every high court has got a registrar, and they have the program ongoing, and there are mediators practicing mediation all over the country.
Hold it.
Yes.
So for the mediators to practice with this program, it means they are registered with the courts.
Exactly.
The courts know them.
The courts know them, and there is what we call the Mediation Accreditation Committee, the Mediation Accreditation Committee. This committee is the one which interviews and accredits and gives licenses for mediators who intend to practice in court So they are known. They are registered. There is a roster of mediators, and they receive matters from court. And it has done a wonderful job so far, I can say, Court-annexed mediation program, with a few loopholes, but it's really working very well, because we have resolved so many cases within the system. It has reduced the backlog of cases, and it's really assisting the courts in managing the cases. Because if you look at our judiciary, we have less than 500 judicial officers, and we have more than 700,000 cases. And if you look at that very clearly, I got these statistics last year. If you look at that, a judicial officer practically can hear 2 cases in a day, assuming we have 2 cases and each case has got 5 witnesses, for example. If we look at it practically, is that each witness has to be examined. There is what we call examination in chief, cross-examination and re-examination, and then the court has to ask a few questions, which takes approximately 1 hour, if we can say that. So if we have 5 witnesses in the court, that means 5 hours have been taken over in the court. And if the court has to look at mentions and part-hard cases, they're only able to hear one case in a day. If we have 700,000 cases pending, and the people still are filing matters in court, that's from the statistics I got, it means that it will take us too long to resolve disputes, and they may reduce the efficiency of the judgments and rulings that we get.
Right.
That's why the court has decided to move some of those cases that can be resolved through the process of mediation to Court-annexed mediation program, which has really assisted in reducing the backlog of cases. But that's not good enough, because we still need what we call private mediation. There are those people who may not want to approach the courts to have their matters resolved. And in fact, there is a survey that indicated that almost 84% of Kenyans don't find their way to court. So where do they have their issues resolved? If the court can take
84% of Kenyans who have cases they want resolved do not go to court.
Who have disputes they don't even desire to go to court. 1, it's expensive. 2, it's complex. it's not easy to afford the service. Although it takes time, takes long, and it's also very cumbersome. So they prefer to even just
so we assume that if the complaints are 100, then we are saying that 16% of these are the ones who go to court.
Exactly.
And 84 don't go to court.
Some of
at all.
them either resolve it directly, or they do it through direct negotiation, or they use other methods of resolving.
All right.
Yes.
So, and what percentage of these numbers will now want private mediation?
Well, that's a very important question. The fact is that these people have to be sensitized. People do not know that mediation exists in this country. Very few people know. Because look at your TV stations. Every day you are talking about Vioja Mahakamani, which means if somebody has a dispute, the first line of resolution will be going to court, because that's what we see on TV every day. So what I'm asking the journalists and the TV stations to do, why don't we have a series of programs where disputes are being mediated, so that we can educate the public about the importance of this process?
Why doesn't your institute fund a program or fund people who can produce these things so that they produce something of that sort?
We started a program like that some times back with some kind of sponsorship, but something happened in between. One of the presenters died, and it took us to a disarray. So one of the people who had been trained in the script did not make it through. So it took us into disarray. But that is something we are still focusing on. And probably City, I love to teach you to be a mediator, since you are a journalist, so that you can run a program on TV every day, or every day of the week. People can open their TV stations to wait on that program, mchakato wa upatanishi, kuleta uwiano katika jamii, that these people can have a program to watch on mediation, and that's the way we can develop mediation in the country.
On that fact about having a program, whether on TV, on radio, or magazetini, or even because nowadays there are very many ways of reaching the public. Social media has opened up the opportunities. We have TikTok, Facebook, X, and all that. So how about and you mentioned that kuna jamaa alikuwa ametoka US, the president of the international mediation.
Yes.
Those are guys you can actually tap into and tell them, look guys, we have an opportunity here, let's get into this into this by providing the funds, because at the end of the day you can train Sitimuga all you want, but he will need to be paid to do all these things you want on TV. And the TV stations, chances are they will also want payment for that airtime. So that is something that we can talk about at a different time.
The thing that perhaps, in addition to the things you're doing, you need to consider. There are certain subjects that people study in school. Primary, I'm not talking about secondary. Studies that involve the judicial process in this country is something that doesn't exist to any degree in our curriculum, and it should. If it did, then it means that mediation is something somebody started understanding from a very young age. The way you inculcate certain ideas in people is TV, radio. We do a good job of doing that, but if you want it to be part and parcel of people's way of life, then you introduce it into the education system. So the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development are people you should have a conversation with.
In fact, we have what we call peer mediation programs. Peer mediation is where we try as much as possible to educate people very early in their lives, during primary or secondary school or university state, to start learning how to resolve disputes. We are currently running a pilot program with Sameta High School, where I've tried to train some teachers and introduce the program, and this then I roll out into the rest of the country. Peer mediation has worked very well in other countries. You find that by the time people are leaving school, they are accomplished mediators. They resolve disputes within the dormitory, issues to do with the bullying, issues to do with the harassment within the school compound, in the dormitory. So young people start learning those skills very early. We have an elaborate peer mediation program that we intend to run to other institutions. But we said for it to begin and for people to appreciate it, let's look for a particular point. We are going to start what we call a pilot program. Right now, we had an agreement with one of the high schools, Sameta High School, and we are trying to train the teachers and train students as coordinators to start running a program where people will learn these skills at a very early age. At the same time, we are requesting some of the universities to put this in their curriculum, so that at least it be, what they have in universities right now is just a small unit on an ADR which is the parties go through, that doesn't go deep enough to educate people about what mediation is.
But
that's why
I know of a university degree at University of Nairobi.
Yes.
Conflict management.
Yeah.
So that also maybe
it's a unit. It's a unit.
Yeah.
But we need to ensure that we put this mediation as a full unit, mediation itself as a full unit. Let me tell you the reason why we have a problem. Right now, you can see recently there are people planning to come up with what we call a dispute resolution bill 2024. Previously, we have had a number of bills thrown out in Parliament. Why? Because probably they were not properly drafted, or they drafted them in a way to favor some particular institutions or to meet some specific ends.
Okay.
For us to have a good bill that can operationalize mediation in this country, experts need to be consulted. I've had a chance this year alone. I had a meeting and I met a number of mediators in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, in Brazil. And mediators from all over the world were there when there was a CPR program. I went to Colombo, Sri Lanka. I met mediators from Asia. We meet a lot when we do these mediation competitions, and we study about how other places have grown. Recently, there was a bill made in the Mediation Act in India, which has transformed the mediation ecosystem in India completely. Unless we have a similar act in Kenya, which identifies mediation as a body, as a profession of its own, we have a problem, because what has come up now, known as a disposition bill, is a combination of many other things. You know, arbitration being part of ADR has got its own act in Kenya, and people deal with it separately. Now, mediation, they want to lump it with other things, and the people drafting this mediation disposition bill have included mediation, conciliation, and other systems in it, and they have suggested they're coming up with a board, which, in my opinion, is will not only kill mediation in this country. It has so many loopholes and problems in it that require a complete overhaul.
James, let me ask you the question.
Yes.
Are you saying that mediation is not recognized as a standalone profession in this country?
In this country, they want to mix it up. You know, they want to treat it this way. There's a professor that I made sometimes in Senegal, Dakar, Senegal, Professor Hula, who talked about something that is happening in Kenya right now. She said some people treat mediation as a small sister to arbitration. Mediation is a profession of its own. That's what most other countries have done. In Kenya here, when people talk about ADR, they want to lump up everything together.
Who are these people?
Let me tell you. If you look at this disposition bill 2024, there is what we call that is a parastatal, government parastatal known as Nairobi Center for International Arbitration, that now has come in.
It's a government parastatal.
Yes, it's a parastatal. It has come in, established under Cap 49A, I think, something like that.
What's it called again?
Nairobi Center for International Arbitration.
Okay.
It is coming in now to say they want to overhaul the current mediation regime in the country. And if you look at Section 5 of the act that they established at the Cap 49A, it talks about the primary function of this is the promotion of arbitration as a practice, specifically to ensure that arbitration is a disposition practice of choice in the country. Now, I don't know where they have come up from. Now they are talking about regulating and overhauling mediation in the country. The problem we have in this country is that we don't stick to one thing at a time. You know, it's like a chicken which lays an egg, and before it hatches, it's running again to do something else. We have started very well in the country with the Court-annexed mediation program. We are trying to develop the mediation, the private mediation, and then our intention is to have a standalone mediation act in this country, which will identify mediation as a profession far away from arbitration.
How do you go through the process of getting a standalone act?
And is this the Private Mediation Act, or it's different?
It's not a private mediation act. It's an act that will govern mediation generally, both private and court-annexed in the country. Because we need to standardize mediation. That's very important, like many other countries that did. But as we try to standardize mediation, we don't want what we call over-regulation. And the problem we have is that we have a clique of people in this country who want to take it over and manage it. There is what we call a supremacy war going on. What has happened in other countries like India, the government, the judiciary, the private mediators came together. They worked together as a team to develop a mediation act. And this mediation act has changed not only mediation ecosystem in India. If you look at America itself, it has even affected American mediation practice. Why? In America, a mediation settlement agreement was always treated as any other contract. Therefore, some people could agree, sign a mediation agreement. Somebody will go to court and challenge it for 5 years. And therefore, people say, why not go to court if a mediation agreement can be challenged? And it takes 5 years in court. But in India, with the new act that has been come in place, the Mediation Act of India, settlement agreements signed by the parties in India are final. They are final and binding, because you are given enough time to do what? To consult your lawyers and do everything before you have it signed. That has given what we call the efficacy, the teeth of the mediation in that particular country. What we are trying to do under this Dispute Bill 2024 is just treating it as any other.
Let me ask the question.
Yes.
Arbitration in this country has teeth. It's binding.
Exactly, because there's a legislation that governs arbitration in this country, which is also an alternative dispute process.
Yes.
Yes.
What is it that hinders Kenyans from doing what India has done?
Well,
what prevents the judiciary?
That's a very important question you have asked, City. Let me tell you. It is just that I think either we do not understand what mediation is, because even if you see this Mediation Bill 2024 as described mediation in a very funny way, either we don't understand what mediation is in this country, or we think it's something that should be mixed with other processes. The moment we understand the sanctity of the mediation process in this country and how superior it is because people make their own decisions. You know, in other countries, let me tell you, I'm an arbitrator myself, so I'm talking out of knowledge. In other countries, arbitration is not ADR. Why? Because an arbitrator is a private extraordinary judge who makes the decisions at the end of the day. It's a quasi-judicial process. But in mediation, parties are empowered to make their own decisions. So in arbitration, an award can be written and you can challenge it in a court of law based on some sections of the act.
Okay.
But mediation is meant in such a way that parties are supposed to make their own decisions. So issues about challenging the outcome of something that people have voluntarily made and almost nil. So people tend to respect something that they have, the decisions that they have made, than decisions that have been made by a third party. Let me give you an example. Let's look at a family matter, for example. A wife sues her husband for maintenance because that person has become they have become negligent.
So are you suing this person as you live together, ama now this is divorce?
Some people do that with an intent to I've seen that happen. So what is let me just complete my story.
Okay, sorry.
So I'm saying this: you sue your husband, maybe he's a guard. Is a guard working outside here. They're earning 15,000 shillings.
Yes,
so you sue them, and then a decision is made that your salary, the salary of the guard, is attached to maintain your wife and children, who you appear to have neglected, in inverted commas.
Okay.
So all your salary, or most part of your salary, will be attached, which means you cannot also survive well, isn't it? So what you do, if you are not willing, you simply resign from your place of work.
Yes. And
you go to the village. So you leave your wife in Nairobi. The wife will have to follow you to the village because they can't now survive. You are not employed.
Yeah.
So what has really that decision done for you? That decision has resolved the dispute, but has even put you into more trouble.
Yes.
It's because we were only looking at the substantive issues of the dispute. As a mediator, we go beyond that. We look at the emotional and pseudo-substantive issues. Parties come up with solutions that are permanent, solutions that are practical, that they can be able to live with. That's why I'm saying this. Let's not bury ourselves under the guise of ADR. People talk about ADR a lot. They don't talk about mediation being a separate discipline, arbitration being a separate discipline, and even adjudication being a separate discipline. What I'm requesting those people who draft, involve experts, and please get into some of these, try to understand what you are doing. Because you are mixing these things up, and what you are making is a concoction which will not work. We have tried that before and it has failed.
Yes,
it's important we
the
take
people
that
who are pushing this agenda,
yes,
they're in the same line of work as you, are they not?
What?
The people who are pushing this agenda,
yes,
they're in the same line of work as you, are they not?
That's the confusion that exists. Some people think because probably I'm an arbitrator, I can as well mediate, which is wrong.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
Yes.
I'm asking,
yes,
your line of work is legal, judicial,
yeah,
it is arbitration, it is mediation.
Yes.
Okay.
And many others, yeah.
As far as we are concerned, they are the same thing. Let me explain it to you.
Yes.
It all involves issues to do with the law. As far as, allow me to explain.
And by we, you mean the citizens?
Yes, it's us.
Yes.
A dispute, as far as we are concerned, and why we go to court, is because we believe the court is the entity that will resolve the issue. That was our understanding before we even knew there were things called arbitration.
Yes.
Arbitration came in, and we understood it is now a court process being practiced outside the court. Mediation, another court process. Now, I am telling you how it is understood.
Yes.
Now, for people to understand the difference, when for them the difference is the same, is a process. Okay? Even arbitration, and why it is the finding of an arbitration is final, is something that you hear, but unless you have a case that you've dealt with or has involved you and you're told, you know, unless it's something very specific, it's like a ruling of the court. And you're saying, no, but rulings of the court you can appeal. Okay? Anything that has to do with sorting out a dispute, in the mind of an ordinary citizen like me, it means we're dealing with the law. And the moment you mention the law, my mind goes to the court. Okay? So how do you take my mind away from the court and explain that when you talk of mediation, it's not an issue of court. It is an issue of a dispute, something you cannot agree on, and something that is of concern to you and you can't resolve between the two of you. So you look for someone who has the expertise to help you understand how you can resolve it.
Thank you. That is very important. What you have just put up is very, very important. Let me tell you, it's an element of semantics and understanding of what the process is. The definition of a conflict is something that is giving people problems. Before we talk about what a conflict is, a conflict is a condition between people who are task interdependent, where one or two of those people are angry, they are blaming one another, and their behavior is causing a family or business problem. There is a very big difference between a conflict, a dispute, a disagreement, stress, and even the discomfort that we have. Now, there's nothing, I just want to tell you, nothing to do with the law. That's the reason why you find that most of the mediators are not lawyers. But I'm happy that now you have really indicated the picture of what people understand this process to be, and probably that will be the cause of confusion. But what I need to tell you is that the Bible itself talks about my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Is that not the book of Joel?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
My people perish because of lack of knowledge. I'm sure the reason why we are in this dilemma that we find ourselves in right now is because we did not take time, first of all, to sensitize and educate the public about what this animal by name mediation is. People simply went in to make the laws. We took it up as a court process. So everybody has the feelings that this thing is related to the law as it is saying, which is extremely wrong. Mediation has nothing to do with the law. Zero. That's why you find a person who has never gone into a legal classroom of law can mediate, because there's nothing to do with the law.
But even as an arbitrator, you do not need to be a lawyer to be an arbitrator, do you?
You don't need to.
Precisely.
But you need to be educated about some law.
You are
in the process.
You see, this is my point. The point I'm making.
Yes.
The moment you have an arbitrator, whom you know is a mwananchi wa kawaida, as we call them,
yes,
arbitrating on issues which have the law embedded in it as in some form. Yes. So you throw in mediation, we know it's another form of arbitration.
Exactly.
Now, the time and the process of getting people to understand the differentiation, and in so understanding, determining who you need to go to when you have certain issues.
Yes.
As you say, it is a process.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, such processes take time, and it's only relevant when you have an issue or a dispute.
Exactly.
If you don't, why would I want to bother with an arbitrator or a mediator?
Exactly. That's, let me tell you, if you go, for example, to Dakar, Senegal, they have established what we call mediation centers at the level, almost at the village level. So when people have disputes, instead of rushing to court, they have systems within the village or the community where this mediation is being done.
Are they under a judicial system?
No, they are not.
What are they under?
You see, they are under
Or are they standalone?
They are government institutions, and also others are private individuals who have decided to establish their mediation centers. But there is a law in the country, like any other legislation, that regulates the standards and the operation and the code of conduct of those institutions. And others are doing what we call self-credentializing. But they have developed, because now, even if you go to America, a small amount of cases are going to court. Most people, when they have disputes, they go directly to mediation centers.
All right.
We have the Lakeside Mediation Center in America and many other places where people move to have their matters resolved without going to court. So what you have said is not only sensitization, it's also education. What are we doing to educate the public to be able to understand that they can still have their dispute resolved without resort to the court system?
Is there a problem?
And that's the conundrum.
Is there a problem in working with the government? Is because as you're speaking, and I was looking at the roles that chiefs play.
Yes.
Chiefs mediate.
Yes.
Within the limitations of the knowledge they have, or the abundance, if they have abundance of knowledge. Why I ask the question is, the government has existing structures where people take issues which necessarily don't go to court. So if mediators such as yourself, do you have difficulties working with the government or arms of the government or structures of government? Because they already exist. People already know them.
In India, I'm telling you, the government, the judiciary, and private mediators work together as a team to develop the act that I'm talking about. And if you look at that act, it's very elaborate. There was a lot of support from the Ministry of Justice in India. There was a lot of support from the judiciary in ensuring that this process works. But these people worked as a team. And in the process, they also invited some international actors from jurisdictions where this process has developed. And with those concerted efforts, they came up with a very elaborate mediation act that is now being admired even from developed countries like America. So it's a concerted effort. First of all, we must make sure that we consult the experts. Like now, we are trying to come up with a mediation act bill. And I have consultants from Canada, from India, those ones who have already developed the Mediation Act in India, who are working together with us to help us shorten the period of coming with a good act that can still be accepted. But even before we completed that, the dispute resolution bill is being presented, which now presents mediation as some kind of portion of ADR. Doesn't give it the prominence we want. What we are saying is very simple. We do not want any war with anybody.
Yes.
What we are saying is simple. Can we work together and develop a mediation act?
You may need to go to war.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the people did that in India.
You may actually need to go to court.
The proponents of the Mediation Act in India had to go to court sometimes to have some of the determinations made by the court. And I'm seeing us going that route, because I'm sure.
Is it? Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sure that for us to be able to have this Mediation Act, we need the support of the government, we need the support of the judiciary, and sometimes we may be forced to approach the courts to make some specific determination to open the way for us to have this act. So it's going to be what we call a war chest to have this thing on the ground, because it's not going to be taken seriously, because people have different interests that they want to meet. And our intention as mediators, who have worked very long to develop this ecosystem, we would like to have an act of parliament that ensures that they create a level playing ground and an environment for anybody who wants to practice a mediator to be able to practice in a safe environment,
You're
and
a
for
lawyer.
the profession itself to be respected.
You're a lawyer, so advise me. Is it possible to have two acts? One that caters for the mediation and another that caters for the arbitration?
Exactly. We already have one. The act that caters for arbitration is already in place. So what we need what we're asking for is not too much.
Yes.
We need the support of judiciary, support of the government to come up with a standalone mediation act.
All right.
That will deal with the issues about the practice standards, the code of conduct, so that mediation becomes a respected profession in this country.
Right.
There's nothing much we're asking more than that.
Yeah.
That's the support we're asking from everybody, and even from other practice mediators. That's what we are looking for.
So you said you wanted to talk about two things. One of them was the Mediation Act.
Yes.
Is there a second one?
I'm talking about private mediation and what we need to do to be able to develop it. So I've been doing research, doing a lot of interviews with very many professional mediators from other parts of the world where mediation has really developed. And for us to be able to promote the mediation, private mediation in this country, first of all, we must have what we call a amicable dispute resolution culture. You know, we should shun that idea that whenever people have a dispute, they have to find their way to court. Number two, we need to have a strong legal framework. And that's the reason why I'm talking about the Mediation Standalone Act. I keep on coming to that particular position.
Right.
We also need to do what we call mediation to be positioned as the first stop in resolving disputes. And when disputes occur, the first stop should be the mediation. The mediation process, and that before even people think about going to arbitration, first of all they have to go through mediation. Then we should, every contract or agreement that we make in this country, we should put a provision of a disposition process that first of all allows parties to go through negotiation. If negotiation fails, they go to mediation before they consider arbitration or litigation. Because with those provisions within the contracts that we make, we shall be promoting mediation within the countries. Then the other thing which is very important is advocates, lawyers in the country should also be encouraged that when the clients come to them and they need an alternative way of resolving disputes, they can be able to encourage their clients, first of all, to attempt mediation before they go into the process of either arbitration or litigation. And then,
James, do you see that happening? You're telling a Kenyan lawyer who has a client, thank you so much, who has, because when you come with a problem, you've come with money, and you're telling them to walk away with the money to go somewhere else. Is it not better to just get that particular lawyer to be trained as a mediator?
So many lawyers are mediators right now, something we didn't have before. But let me tell you, and if you go to places like the UK, lawyers have law firms, and within their law firms, they have mediation departments.
Yes.
And when a client comes to the reception, they are given options, what we call a multiple. They are given options on to make a choice on what method they need the dispute to be resolved.
Right.
And you'll find that lawyers are doing more business in those other countries like Canada in the department of mediation more than even litigation itself. There are cases that can be litigated, and there are those cases that can be mediated, and you find a greater percentage of cases can be mediated. Only those difficult cases which have got complex structures need somebody else to make a decision, and that's why you need to approach the courts. And that's what I'm saying. And in fact, if we reduce the backlog of cases, even the quality of the judgments and things we get from court will also improve. We'll give judges easy time. Judges are human beings like us. They want to go home and watch TV and do homework with their children. We don't want to put a lot of cases pressure on them. Let's also reduce the backlog of those cases so that the judges can also enjoy their life with their families. We're putting a lot of pressure on them.
So let's say I've come to you as a mediator.
Yes.
And I have this case with my wife, and we want to separate, go our separate ways, divorce, basically.
Yes.
That is something that can be mediated so that we can divorce amicably.
Now, the problem is one, in Kenya, we can only mediate separation. There is a law that is holding us, known as that you cannot connive to end a marriage. That's what we need to change, because in other jurisdictions, they have already allowed that. Because when you want to marry, you don't seek anybody's permission. So when you want to buy the company, why should I get somebody to make a decision on my behalf? So we need to have these things changed.
So currently in Kenya, I can't come to you for
divorce. Is excluded from the process of mediation, but you can mediate separation.
All right, so let's go to separation mediation.
Yes.
So when you're mediating on separation, what exactly are you telling me and my wife? Are you telling us how we're going to have custody of our children? Are we going to discuss how finances are going to be divided? What exactly are you...
Exactly what you have just said. We want you to exit in a civil way.
Okay.
You know, sometimes people exit in a way that even traumatizes their children. If you have made a decision to part company and you don't want to live together, you know, one thing I usually tell people is that what you can destroy is a marriage, because a marriage is written on a piece of paper, but you cannot destroy a family. The children have a mom and dad, and that stays forever. So you have a future together. So if you are exiting this union, you should do it in a civil way that doesn't traumatize you, doesn't traumatize your children. Because the best interest of the parents and the best interest of the children are very important. So that's why we discuss issues to do with custody of children, a parenting plan, finances, matrimonial property.
Right.
We do it in an amicable way, so that when you part company, everybody is safe and sound somewhere, and that we don't traumatize our children. That's what we are doing.
The reason I'm asking this is because I know a lot of our listeners right now, chances are one or two of them are probably going through this.
Yes.
So when you decide to separate with your husband or your wife,
Yes.
and there's money involved, you as a mediator, what is your role as far as that separation of, or rather the division of finances is concerned? Do you tell me, now Mbuvi, you're a radio presenter, you earn a lot of money, your wife is a stay-at-home mother, so now you need to support them in A, B, C, D, or do you, like, what happens there?
We don't make decisions as mediators. What we usually do is to create an environment where you can negotiate in a civil way. In other countries which are developed like Australia and others, people are usually allowed to swear an affidavit and disclose what they own. Therefore, it's brought to the table for the purpose of division. That doesn't happen in parts of Africa where people can lie under oath and they don't care about it. So what I'm trying is this: you usually tell people, we negotiate in good faith, put everything on the table, come in good faith.
So you as the mediator, then you sit there.
Yes.
Me and my wife, we sit on the other end.
Yes.
Then now unatuambia ongeni.
No, not ongeni.
Eh.
What we do, the mediation process, if I can just summarize it, especially on family matters.
Please do.
We know very well that people come at different emotional stages. These are emotional matters. And as a mediator, you must be trained on how to deal with emotions, how to deal with anger, and how to deal with anguish. So the first thing is to give the parties the opportunity to present their case uninterrupted. Then you will identify the issues that will form the agenda for discussion.
So this woman says, this man beats me, this man does this.
They can say as much as possible.
He has other women, and then now this
but there are ground rules to govern that. You know, people must comply with some ground rules, especially pointing fingers and being violent, to be able to use civil language and not attack the other person, and many other things like that. Once you have set the ground rules, and they can work within the ground rules to ensure that the process is civil. So once each party has been given an opportunity to present their case, you identify the issues that will form the agenda for discussion, and try to do what we call brainstorming, trying to find out which options can address those issues. And you can do it together or in private sessions just to find out which options. Then you evaluate those options, and then parties will come up with those options that work for both of them, and parties come to an agreement.
James,
yes,
come back again.
Yes,
let us give you 2 hours.
Yes,
so that you can actually explain some of these things that you're talking about in detail, because you've barely scratched the surface.
Yes.
And we will also ask our listeners and viewers to chime in and ask questions so that you can see the responses.
Yes.
And you can perhaps get a better grounding of the things you want to say, because everything that you've said, as far as I'm concerned, amounts to an introduction.
Exactly. There's a lot to be done, but I want to sensitize the mediators who are in practice in Kenya. We need to come together as people in other countries have done. I have got people from Canada, from India, from Sao Paulo in Brazil, who are willing to help us to come up with a standalone mediation act that will save this profession of mediation in this country. So let's come together as a team with the assistance of the judiciary, with the assistance of the government, and ensure that what we can achieve, especially this year or early next year, is having a standalone mediation act. Let's do away with this, what we call the dispute resolution bill, that is has so many problems in it already. So that we come up, we do proper consultation with all the stakeholders and come up with a bill that will stand the test of time in Parliament. So I'm asking the members of Parliament who will be having this bill presented before them, please throw away that bill, because it will confuse mediation in this country. Let us come up with something that works for every mediator and that will promote mediation in this country.
Meanwhile, James, how can they reach you, and how can they reach the Mediation Training Institute East Africa?
Now, we have 2 institutions. We have Mediation Training Institute East Africa and the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators at ICMC. Our website is www.mtieastafrica.org. You can get us on that. Or our email is info at MTI East Africa .com.org. That's our
.org.
email, so they can get us at that.
Right.
My number is also available. I'm a public figure, so people can get me at 0707-124-831, and we can continue this conversation away from this particular forum.
Kindly just give them that number again.
0707-124-831. That's my direct number, and we can continue with this conversation.
That is James Mangerere. He is the President, Mediation Training Institute East Africa. Thank you so much for that insight. And as CT Muga has said, please come back again for 2 hours. Much needs to be discussed. Hata tujajua mnalipango pesa ngapi. Hiyo utakuja kutuambia ukirudi.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a place where it's a lucrative business when you have experience in this particular area.